going on, guys? Welcome to week 8 of the WBE. We've only got 2 weeks left in the regular season, and this one is looking pretty tough for us. I feel like I say that every time, but this is actually a pretty scary matchup. He has a pretty interesting team. He's one of the only people who has a good fairy type. He has Clefable, so that kind of messes up my team. But I think I'm pretty prepared for this, and we're just going to kind of do our best. So, hop in single battle. We're doing Bulba, and let's see how this goes. I actually have never battled Callum before, and this is a pretty anticipated match here. So this should be a pretty good one. I think we have a pretty fair matchup with our team. So let's go ahead and see what he brought. Definitely going to be that Clefable because that thing's annoying as hell. He also has Mega Blastoise, which is an absolute threat. So we've got to worry about that thing. But this is the squad that I'm working with today. I decided to go with pretty much my A team here. I do have Facade on Gyarados and Machamp in case there's any Scaldburn shenanigans or there's like a Will-O-Wisp from his Moltres. So for the most part, I think getting the lead matchup correctly is going to be pretty key in this. So I think he's probably going to lead with Clefable. Anyway, let's check out what he brought. So he does have that Dugtrio, the Jolteon. It's also something that's super scary. His team is pretty damn fast. So I got to worry about that. But then he's got the Sicko Mode, the Executor. Don't really want to get put to sleep. The damn Clefable and the Moltres. So, it would be nice to get Stealth Rock up for the Moltres, but then, honestly, it's really not too big of a deal. My team does handle the Moltres pretty well. Mega Blastoise does great against it, along with Tentacruel. So, I mean, Tony does pretty well against it, too. There's really not a whole lot that thing can do to us, so I don't think I'm going to really prioritize Stealth Rock too much, but I think we're going to lead off with Tentacruel. That's kind of what I was planning here. If we lead off with LL Cruel J, I think it's going to set us up in a pretty good spot if he decides to lead with the Clefable. I'm expecting that to be his Stealth Rock lead. He could go with the Dugtrio. That's kind of just a gamble. If he decides to go with the Dugtrio, we are going to be in a little bit of trouble. Then I'll be forced to kind of switch into Gyarados. He'll get up Stealth Rock for free. But I think we're going to try to catch him leading off with that Clefable. And we're going to go LL Cruel J. Just trying to get some damage off on that early is going to be super important for us. So let's see how this goes. He brought pretty much what I expected. Wasn't really expecting him to bring the Moltres, but I guess it's kind of decent that he did. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's see if we can get our win back. Last week, we got our first loss in like 5 or 6 weeks or something like that. So I also am a little bit rusty, haven't had a whole lot of time to play, but I'm ready for this. So let's see. He is going to go ahead and lead off with the Clefable. Perfect. So Tentacruel does kind of have to worry about Thunderbolt, but I actually decided to bring my Calm Tentacruel today. So we do have actually some pretty decent special attack against this, and we're straight from the start just going to go right for a Sludge Bomb. He doesn't have much that wants to switch into that. I do see him probably staying in here going for Stealth Rock, although his safest switch would be Dugtrio. But I probably wouldn't want to catch a Scald, so let's just go. Well, maybe we could go for the Scald and try to catch him going into the Dugtrio. But I think our safest play is probably just to go for the Sludge Bomb here. As I'm not really worried about the Dugtrio coming in, because then I can just go into my Gyarados. I can come in before he gets the Stealth Rock up. If he decides to Earthquake against Tentacruel, we're able to avoid that. He is actually going to end up switching. If I went for Scald, that actually would have been great, as he goes into Spitfire instead. Which is going to be the Moltres. And that's actually really interesting. I would not expect Moltres to come in on Tentacruel, so we get off a nice little Sludge Bomb. Don't get the poison, but I do not really know what this thing wants to do, to be honest. Moltres is really only running Fire Blast, Flamethrower, Air Slash, things like that, so I don't really know what to expect from this thing. Potential Will-O-Wisp, so I don't really want to go into... I could go into Tony, I guess. I don't really have much to hit this thing with in return, though. I think I'm probably just going to stay in here and go for a Scald. This is a decent matchup for me. He came in and took a Sludge Bomb. I really wish I would have Scalded from the first turn, but we'll see what this thing wants to do. He's actually going to U-turn, trying to catch me, going for a pivot, so that's not too bad. U-turn, we resist that. Doesn't do very much damage, and we pretty much just got some free damage off on that thing, and now he has to come in on a Scald. So I'm assuming probably Mega Blastoise is going to come in here. But then again, Mega Blastoise does not have much that it can do to Tentacruel in return. So he does actually have a good bit of trouble against Executor, or against Tentacruel. I'm thinking he could go into that Executor and just scare me out with Sleep Powder, Psychic, stuff like that. But he also could bring in Jolteon. He's going to go Howie. which is going to be the Jolteon. So, not the best for us. I do kind of want to conserve my Tentacruel here. We get a nice little Scald off. Burn, please. No burn. Okay, no poison or burn yet. That's fine. So, he could potentially go for the U-turn. I think he'll probably just go straight for a Thunderbolt. This is kind of a tough decision for me because nothing really wants to come in on a Thunderbolt from Jolteon. I think I might have to risk it and just go ahead and bring in Sandslash. If he Thunderbolts, he's going to... Yeah, if he Thunderbolts, that's pretty bad for us, honestly. Because Sandslash takes like 70%. I am pretty forced to switch here, which does suck. I think I have to go Sandslash and just kind of see what happens here. That's what we're going to do. Unfortunately, I might just have to pretty much sack off Sandslash at this point and just get off like an Ice Shard, and that means that I won't have Stealth Rock support. So he actually yawns, which is definitely not something I expected there. So the yawn comes in. I forgot that Jolteon even fucking does that, but okay, so that's actually not too bad. If I decide to let Sandslash get put to sleep, we can then... we can get Stealth Rock up for free right now. If I get put to sleep, he's not able to put me to sleep with the Executor, but I'm not really too worried about that because we pretty much outspeed it with everything. He's definitely going to want a U-turn here. That's a good play. The yawn U-turn is decent for this thing to get him a little bit of momentum. So what is he going to bring in against this thing? I'm just going to go for Stealth Rock here. This pretty much guarantees that we get it up. He actually just ends up hard switching instead as he brings in the pressure, which is going to be the Mega Blastoise. So this thing's kind of scary. I don't know if it's got any... I don't think it gets any access to like setup moves, which is good news. So we get put to sleep there. We do get our Stealth Rock up, which is pretty damn nice. And Sandslash is now asleep. So my best play here is I could go into Tentacruel. This thing, I don't think it's much for Tentacruel, and then I could Sludge Bomb away at it, but I do need to conserve Tentacruel's health. That is pretty crucial. I could also go into Mega Gyarados here. If he just Scalds, that's honestly not that bad. We could take it easily, and then we can Facade. I think Mega Evolution and then Crunch is actually going to be good for this thing. It does about half, I'm pretty sure. We're going to go right into Gyarados here, as I expect him to probably just Scald. I think it's the best thing he has against Alolan Sandslash, and he's actually going to switch. He's going to go into the Doug Trio. As, okay, he gets a nice little double switch going, so we got some mind games happening here. Flat Earth comes in. He probably wants to get up Stealth Rock, I assume, while I'm sleeping, so that's an interesting play there. I'm not really sure what he thought I was going to go into there, but this is nice because now we can just Mega Evolve. We can take anything that Doug Trio wants to throw at us, and we actually one-hit KO with Crunch, so if he decides to Rock Slide and gets flinches, that's going to be kind of annoying. Obviously, it's just neutral once we are Dark type, so we're just going to go ahead and click Crunch here. This is a pretty decent matchup for us. He is kind of in a spot where he can decide to get up his Stealth Rock and just sack off his Doug Trio, which would be great for us because that's his best answer to my Tentacruel, so it's going to be interesting to see what he goes for here. He can't really switch. Okay, he is going to actually end up switching. He could bring in the Clefable. Nope, he's going right back into Blastoise. Okay. So he brings back in the Shell Shocker. Going to take a little bit more Stealth Rock damage, and this is actually pretty good for us. We are going to be able to Mega Evolve here. I don't really know what Blastoise wants to do to Mega Gyarados in this generation. I probably should have looked up more of what this thing's working with. Luckily, we did Crunch rather than Waterfall, so we get to catch this thing with a Crunch on the switch-in, and one more should knock this thing out, unless that was some crazy max damage. So we're just going to go right for another Crunch here, and we might actually be able to get rid of this Blastoise relatively early, which is something that I am worried about. Mega Blastoise has been doing pretty good for him in this league, and thing is threatening. He's actually going to end up switching again, so we get some more free damage here. He's going to go into the Clefable. Okay. So we whittled that Blastoise down to pretty decent range there, which is nice. He's doing a whole lot of switching here, so I'm really glad that I was able to get up that Stealth Rock. The Crunch doesn't do much. If we got the defense drop, that would have been great there. But I assume he's probably going to just Moonblast here. So I want to go into Sandslash. I might just go right into Tentacruel here. It's kind of main objective is to take care of the Clefable, so I don't really want to take a Moonblast with Gyarados. I think going into Tentacruel is probably the best option here. He could set up Stealth Rock here, which I'm not really too worried about, but I think that would probably be his best play, just going for the Stealth Rock. Either way, we're going to save our Mega Gyara. It was able to do a chunk to that Mega Blastoise, and that's amazing. So he does just set up the Stealth Rock here, and we're fine with that. So I'm assuming it probably has Thunderbolt. He knows that Tentacruel is my best answer to the Clefable, so we're just going to go ahead and click Sludge Bomb here, as I assume he might just stay in. This thing's lost a decent amount of health. I'm trying to look at what he might switch into. It could potentially be that Dugtrio. Although I think that's too risky of a switch for him to bring in the Dugtrio at this point. So, oh, okay, he's going to switch. Man, I really want to get a Sludge Bomb off on this thing, and he's actually going to go right back into the Moltres. So, it takes some Stealth Rock damage. He's pretty much just going to sack this thing off, as a Sludge Bomb is going to take care of it, and LL Cool J is doing his thing yet again. So the Moltres goes down. Stealth Rock came in handy there, and unfortunately, though, now he gets a free switch into his Dugtrio. And the bad part about having already Mega Evolved with Gyarados is that now I can't actually switch into an Earthquake as easily as I used to be able to, obviously, because I was flying. So this thing comes in, we do die to an Earthquake, and it's a pretty obvious play for him to go for. I could actually bring in Tiny Wings, but if he makes the prediction and goes for the Rock Slide, that's going to put us in a really bad spot. So, to be honest, I might just go Sand Slash here and let this thing just get knocked out by an EQ. That way I get a free matchup. I think that's what I'm going to do. We're just going to bring in Sand Slash here. This thing's asleep. It got up Stealth Rock. It's here to be able to outspeed the Clefable and go for an Iron Tail. Although we got that Clefable down to reasonable enough health to where I think I'll be able to take care of it out in a different way. So we're going to go Sand Slash here. Easiest EQ, obvious play. And unfortunately, oh, we actually are able to live that. So we have a chance to wake up and go for an Ice Shard, which I think does like 70% to this thing. So that's good. Look at Sand Slash out here taking it. Okay, so this is actually my Jolly Sand Slash. I made this thing Jolly just so I'd be able to outspeed his Clefable. But yeah, so he's a different cold cuts than usual. Didn't get to do what he was supposed to do, but at least we got up the Stealth Rock, so that's great. And alright, so now I can go ahead and freely go into my Machamp here. I think is probably a good option for us. I can just go for, well, I kind of wish I had Ice Punch, because that Executor kind of checks it. Although I could just go right into Shrimp here too. I think Shrimp is probably the best idea. Dragonite doesn't really like Rock Slide like the chance of the Rock Slide flinch. I think we do have to go Mega Gyara here. And it's going to be interesting. He probably is going to end up sacking this thing off, I would assume. Again, we're just going to go for a Crunch because we know that this does knock this thing out at full HP. So we just click Crunch. He's probably just going to go for an Earthquake, I assume. But then again, this man's making some plays that I'm not really able to predict too well. So I think I should probably play it safe, because this man is just out here making weird switches. So he is going to end up switching again. And he's going to go right back into the Blastoise. So that is wild that we're actually able to knock out the Blastoise before it even got the chance to Mega Evolve. So getting rid of this thing is actually pretty decent, because I obviously don't have to worry about it. But then again, on the other hand, it does suck, because now he gets a free switch into whatever he wants, and it's probably going to be that Jolteon. I think the good news about if he goes into Jolteon, or actually probably Clefable, I think we could take a hit from either. But then again, I don't know if we'll be able to knock out the Clefable, which is going to be kind of scary. But I think we do have switches in on the Clef. So he's kind of in a pretty... We've got him kind of right where we want him here as he goes into the Clefable. Okay. So this thing's knocked down to half from the Stealth Rock, which is great. I do think we should save Mega Gyara, because I think we can take a T-Bolt from that Jolteon at some point. So we're going to go ahead and just do our thing and switch right back into... well, because he's probably going to want to go into the Dugtrio here. If he makes the double switch into the Dugtrio, that's going to really suck for us. So we're just going to go right into Tentacruel. If he does do this, make the double switch into the Dugtrio, I think I could switch into Dragonite and potentially catch him going for an Earthquake that turn. But we're just going to play it safe, as he is going to make the double switch, and he's probably going to go Dugtrio here. Yeah, that was a great play on his end, as Tentacruel does not like this matchup very much. So that was something that I could have predicted, but I think it was probably more worth saving my Mega Gyara, because it does great against him at this point. So now I think he's probably going to make the safe play and just go for the Earthquake, as I think I can probably switch into Dragonite here. And I do have Ice Punch for this thing, which can knock it out. So we'll go into Dragonite, kind of just have to risk not getting flinched by a Rock Slide. If he makes the Rock Slide play here, That's going to be great for him because I think he is going to be able to knock me out after Stealth Rock damage with 2 of them. So we'll see what he decides to go for here. Get hurt by some Stealth Rock. It's just going to Earthquake, so we're able to come in on that, which is great. And now we're free to click Ice Punch, which we really need to get off here. If he gets a flinch, that's going to really suck for us. Come on, Dragonite. Don't let me down, buddy. I need you to do something here, man. So this is an interesting play. If I get rid of this Dugtrio, that means that Tentacruel is free to do pretty well. So he is going to go for the Rock Slide. Does connect. No flinch, please. Please, God. Fuck, we flinched. No. Well, that really sucks. The flinch there definitely sets us back. He does connect on the next one. That's going to knock us out. So we really needed to not flinch there. Dragonite would have been able to knock this thing out. Unfortunately, of course we do flinch. And, man, that's a real bummer. Well, I think we have to probably go Mega Gara here. Or we could go Goro. I think Machamp is kind of chilling in the back here. Looking pretty good for us. I could just go for an Earthquake. But then he could bring in that kind of baits in the Executor to come in. Although then I do have Tony for that. I think we probably have to go Mega Gara here. That's what we're going to do. Man, that flinch was crucial. I think we would have had a way easier time had he not flinched us there. But Rock Slide always be flinching. So we're just going to click Crunch here. As he might just Earthquake for some damage. Okay, no, he's going to switch out. He needs this Dugtrio. This Dugtrio does great for him. So he's going to go into the Clefable. This thing is going to... We're able to outspeed this Clefable. I believe if it's not... Okay, yeah, so it doesn't quite knock it out. But if it's a plus speed nature, Clefable actually only goes up to 89. So we're definitely able to just finish this thing off here. So even if it's plus speed... We are just going to Crunch, and then he gets a free switch, which he'll probably bring in the Jolteon, which I think we should maybe just stay in on, because I don't know if Gyarados is too... Well, Gyarados is pretty useful because it does check that Dugtrio. So he's down to Dugtrio, Jolteon, and Executor. So he can't really go Executor. He's going to go Howie, which is going to be the Jolteon. So this thing comes in. He might just go for a U-turn. I think a U-turn is probably a good play here. He's kind of having to play from behind at this point. So if he goes for a U-turn, I'm trying to think about what would be best for us here. I can't really switch into a Thunderbolt on anything. I think Gyarados has to stay in here and basically just click Crunch. We're going to go for Crunch because it knocks out the Jolteon. It also will be able to knock out the Executor if he does U-turn and go into that thing. He's not going to want to bring in the Dugtrio as that thing's his most useful mon, so he's just going to T-Bolt. And let's check the thickness of Gara. We are able to live it with 26 HP. We get off the Crunch. And that's going to be a dead Jolteon. So he is now down to 2, ladies and gentlemen, with the 5-minute timer coming into play. So 5 minutes left in the match. He's got Dugtrio and Executor. Machamp does beat Dugtrio, although it doesn't beat the Executor. So in comes this thing, and I've got to take this time to kind of think about what I'm going to do here. I basically need Gyarados to go down at this point, and then I can bring in Machamp, and then I can expect to switch into the Executor, which I think is what I have to do. So we'll just basically just stay in here, click Crunch, doesn't really matter as we are going to go down to an Earthquake, and now we are forced to bring in the Machamp, who I actually didn't bring any fighting moves on this thing because it didn't seem like it was all that useful. So we brought this vanilla-ass coverage Machamp, who does have the bulk up. Oh, I have Poison Jab for the Executor. I actually completely forgot about that. That could be super nice for us. So, okay, that's actually great. Executor being pretty slow. I believe if it's timid, it's going to be sitting at 83 for a speed stat. So let's see here. We only got 3 minutes left on the timer. So we actually speed tie with the Executor if that thing comes in. I think he does have to bring in the Executor, but I also think it's way too risky for me to just not click Earthquake. So we're just going to click Earthquake here. He does switch. And it is time to pretty much risk the speed tie, or we might have to switch into Arcanine. I think is probably our safest bet. So we get off the EQ here. Man, if I would have clicked Poison Jab, we would have won the match there. But I think it was too risky against the Dugtrio. It's okay. we have ourselves a Tony. Well, I think it doesn't really matter what I decide to go into here. I could just go into LL Cool J. This thing basically, if he decides to sleep powder. We need Machamp for the Dugtrio is basically what this comes down to. I have to make a move here at this point because it's kind of coming down to it. So we're just going to go into Arcanine. And damn, this is a close as hell match. Either way, I'm happy with how this went. I think it's turned into a pretty entertaining match. So does he sleep powder here? He just psychics. Interesting. So we take the stealth rock damage. Tony does live that, which is great. And now we are going to go ahead and basically just Flare Blitz. For the knockout, he can't switch into the Dugtrio. It's way too scary for him to switch into the Dugtrio here. So we just go for the Flare Blitz. Arcanine doing his thing, knocks out the Eggy Boy. And now it is us against this Dugtrio. And I'm pretty sure that Machamp, as long as there's no crit shenanigans, can win this. So Tony does go down to the recoil, which is a bummer, but that's fine. So now it's us against the Dugtrio. We've got to go into Goro here. And we basically just click Earthquake. So let's hope that Machamp has been lifting dim weights enough this week for this shit. Alright. Flat Earth been coming and taking so much stealth rock damage. But we just have too much health at this point. There's nothing really that could go wrong for us. We're just going to make sure we don't fucking misclick. So now we just Earthquake each other. I set my Joy-Con down and we see what happens. We are able to live it. And we are able to fire off our Earthquake. This kind of makes me wish I would have put Superpower on my fucking thing, but it doesn't really matter because Earthquake does finish it off. And we are able to catch that W. So, my god, that was an intense match. I honestly think I played it a little bit too safe in times. I probably should have gone for predictions, but the thing about my team is it has enough bulk to the point where it kind of allows me to play certain situations safe enough to where I know I can take attacks. And I honestly, I just don't get O-code enough to the point where I can just fire off attacks back and just do great. So I really like my team in that it's really fat and it just honestly hits really hard. It's just super slow is kind of its downfall. But that was a really good match. That was the first time me and Callum have ever battled. I know that you guys have been waiting for this one for a long time. And that actually worked out to be a way better match than I expected. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button on this video if you enjoyed. And also, I do really enjoy the comments you guys have been giving me on this league series. It's nice to see the support. I appreciate you guys a lot. Don't forget to check out Callum's channel. He will be in the description, as always. Also, I have included the link to the WBE Fan Document, so you can actually check that out. It shows you all the kind of standings, where things are right now. It shows you, I think, matchups and kind of the whole team rosters and stuff. So if that's something you're into, go ahead and check that out. But anyways, guys, I will see you later. Peace out.